Hey, it's Nikki. We have a podcast on our network called Working Forward. It's all about future of work topics. And there's a special series that we do in the PeopleForward Network community, myself with our Chief Strategy Officer, Jason Cochran, and we break down the inner workings of PeopleForward Network and how we're doing some things to really model the way of what it's like to lead and live out what it means to be a people-forward organization. So I hope that you enjoy the special bonus episode that I recorded with my dear pal, Jason Cochran.
Welcome to Working Forward Conversations, a special live, unfiltered episode hosted inside the PFN community where we explore bold, working forward ideas we adopt and use here at PeopleForward Network. Enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Working Forward Conversations. I'm with the fabulous Nikki Llewellyn Gregory, our CEO and founder at PeopleForward Network. Nikki, what's up?
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. And Jason, I have loved that people are giving feedback on, just the helpful tips that we're giving. I've had two people say they've tried some of our asynchronous initiatives or different tips that we shared. And so I love this series. It's fun because we break down what we're doing, and then it's also like helping us gain new ideas as we talk through it. So enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I love hearing that too from folks, because fundamentally that's what we want it to be about is, hey, we're trying to figure this out too. Stuff is rapidly changing, but we want to be able to share things that we learn, that we're trying, that we discover internally. And also, we got the benefit of the doubt. We got some pretty heavy hitter thought leaders in our network and community that are giving us ideas all the time to kind of help sharpen us too, of like, you know what, let's give that a try and see how that works. And so that's great to hear about the asynchronous one. Today, we've got another one. We're going to take everybody behind the curtain a little bit here. And we're going to talk about how we do OKRs and monthly sprint goals at PeopleForward Network. Yeah. So maybe to start with, Nikki, kind of walk us through, some folks may be wondering, what's even an OKR? Maybe that's the first time they've heard about it. You want to kind of explain those two things to us?
Yeah, I do. And right before we dive into that, Jason, I wanted to mention that the solution, if you will, of doing this monthly sprint and OKR focus has come from, we tend to do big, grand plans for the year, and we take all this time to write out these multi-page documents. And while those are very helpful for guiding us, many times you get into it a couple months down the road and things are shifting and you're changing, but you spend so much time polishing up a whole year in advance plan. Now, do I think it's important to have a strategy that guides your company and your efforts? Like, you want to see the vision way beyond the month. Yes. But I think the power in the here and now and being agile is what we found has really been helpful in this process, and getting everybody involved on the main thing, like keeping the main thing. So to answer your question on OKRs, so O stands for objective, and then the KR is key results. So objective, what do we want to achieve? Like, example, we want to launch a world-class podcast experience for our partners, right? And then the key results underneath that objective would be, let's hit 5,000 all-time downloads. Let's secure 3 new partners, and let's get 50% response on our partner feedback survey or something right like that. So OKRs just help to hone in, like, what do you want to achieve? And then those specific kind of like smart, measurable, how you going to get it done. What would you add to that?
I love that. And I love what you said about keeping the main thing. I think one of the things that I've discovered about myself over time, it's like, hey, I'm going to be 46 this year. You'd think I'd know this about myself already, Nikki, and I think we have a lot of people like this on our team too. When you have a team of really smart people that are good problem solvers, every challenge looks really juicy and tempting to get into and try and solve. It's like, ooh, there's something over there. Let me go over here and kind of tinker with that and see if I can fix that real quick. But it'll take your focus away from the main thing. And I think that's one of the guardrails that's really good, that's healthy boundaries that you can help with your team, is having an OKR type structure in place really communicates with clarity. What are those main things? And the way that we've done them too, we've come up with kind of these 6 pillars that we have at PeopleForward Network. We may not always have an OKR around one of these 6, but these generally are the 6, kind of like the menu we're picking from, of the things that are the main thing we think about the health of the business. And those 6 areas are community, sales, operations, culture, brand/marketing, and production. And so typically, we have an OKR structure that's going to be built around some of those, depending on what our focus is going to be that quarter of what we need to move. But it definitely helps with the focus. And I'm speaking from personal experience. It helps me whenever there may be multiple types of things coming to, at the end of the day, be like, winning today, what does that look like? It means, did I do something to move the needle on this one specific area on this OKR that we got to move? And that's helped me get the blinders on a lot of times and not look for other things to be getting involved in and be like, nope, this first. Then if there's extra time to devote to those other things, then you can do that. So that's how it's helped me specifically.
Yeah, I like that. And Jason, going back to the grand plans that sometimes we make a year in advance or 5 years in advance, again, so important to have a vision for where you're going much further out than a month at a time. But I love that we shifted to these pillars because, it's like we know our goals for the future, but then the core pillars, like you mentioned, our 6 are what then help us shape out our month to month. I can't talk today. Month to month agile efforts in what is the sprint goal. Like we're planning our next sprint at the end of the month for the next month based on what happened. Like, did we hit the sprint goal? Right? It's going to dictate like what is the goal for the following month, but always going back to those core pillars to make sure like we're covering all of the bases of what matters for our business. Kind of like we talked about a life wheel. Those pillars, right, are like the pieces of pie around our what makes us whole as PeopleForward Network. So I like that you mentioned that because that's like the North Star, like our North Star is like our vision and mission. These pillars are the components, and then we are basing our monthly sprints off of that. So kind of how we guide it together. Another thing that I just wanted to share is the power of visiting these weekly. When you're on a monthly sprint, it's like, these are coming up for me every day in the work that I'm doing. As a team, we are visiting this weekly. So we meet live as a team or through our asynchronous model that we've shared before every week. And it is on our agenda every week. It's not like I'm just expecting that everybody remembers and they're doing the things. So thoughts about just the frequency of how much we're visiting this, Jason, and the collaboration.
Yeah. And the monthly sprinkle is a change that you just incorporated in January for us as a team. And I think it's helped tremendously. So it's kind of this combination. A lot of times in my head, Nikki, I think of like this balance of zooming in and zooming out. You got to have a healthy balance of both. If you stay zoomed out too far, then you're not getting things done. You're not executing on the stuff that actually needs to move the needle. If you stay zoomed in too often, then you may miss the big picture of what you're looking at. And finding out what that balance is for you and for your team in those roles of what does zooming in and zooming out look like in your role and in the work that you're doing is really important. And I feel like that monthly sprint helped really take us from, okay, we've got a quarterly objective, which is great, but that can kind of seem far away in the future. Let's break this down month by month. If we're going to hit this quarterly objective end of Q1, here's what that means for January. That's the monthly sprint goal. Mm-hmm. Then based off your results from January, then you adjust and say, okay, this is what it means for February. Like if it's some kind of like a MRR goal of some kind that you're trying to hit by the end of the quarter. And so what you've done by injecting the monthly sprint goals is it's brought a healthier balance, I think, for us of not being too zoomed out and only thinking primarily in terms of quarters or annual goals. Now we're chunking it down and we're thinking in terms of wins per month and how to stack those together to get to the quarterly objective. And we've even kind of taken it a step further because we do have a lot of wizards in the lab on the team. We took our Monday project management software and we found out there's actually an OKR template in there that we were able to customize a little bit. And so we've even taken it a step further of kind of diving down. We take the quarterly objectives at the top. Underneath is the monthly sprint goal for each month. But then underneath the monthly sprint goal is week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And we lay out, here's the things that need done each week in order to hit the monthly sprint goal, in order to hit the quarterly objective.
Yes.
And so we've kind of tiered it down from annual goal to quarter to month to week to really support our team. And the beauty of doing it Monday is it provides the nudges and reminders and a lot of the accountability stuff to help each week of making sure the focus is there to move the needle on it.
Yes. So good. I was just thinking, maybe we could give an example of one of our months, the sprint goals. One thing to note is we don't ever do more than 5. We've committed as a team that the focus will be 3 to 5, never more than 5 key goals that we're focused on under that sprint, or OKRs that we're focused on under that sprint. In February, I'll share, celebratory, we achieved all 4 on the list. But I want to give you examples. All team is working on these collectively, even if you can start to see as I share the example, it might not be in your necessarily role wheelhouse. Like, oh, I don't work in the community all the time, but my company has this community, and how can I support that? Right. You can kind of see there's different areas. So the first goal in February on our sprint goals was for production, Lucy Ulrich, ready for production manager by March 1st. So Lucy to be the frontline team lead. What did we need to do to get there? A number of team members giving feedback, offering a hand, getting things polished up inside of our Monday.com, documenting things, getting a coach secured for Lucy, those kinds of things as an example. That was number 1. Number 2, for our community, 100 founding members in the PeopleForward Network community. It was so fun. Jason, remember this was the final one to hit. And it was like final day, and we are like, we're 5 away. You're just like refresh. That's what I was doing, at least.
Right.
My day to get to that 100. We're like, we've done all the things. We're at our final day here. And all team members, they were sending invites, sending follow-ups, doing shout outs, sending thank yous to be able to help us get to that. So that was the second goal, was 100 founding members. The third, sales pipeline, looking for 5 new deals in the works. So that means that they're in an opportunity deal phase in our CRM. And also we've added 10 new hot leads that we've identified as prospects and booked them for sales opportunities. So 5 new deals in the works as a deal, and then 10 new opportunity meetings booked. And we checked that off. Thank you to Eric Brandstetter for leading the way and setting up our amazing new CRM features that we have in Monday.com. And then our fourth goal was establish a strong foundation for PeopleForward Network's YouTube presence by doing a complete overhaul on our channel, and then achieving 500 total subscribers and posting 15 new videos that are in alignment with who we are now. And that was an all team effort, from like sharing out the channel, giving feedback on which videos we were going to post. But that was February, and we were able to check it off, and everybody got, a bonus in their bucket for being part of that. So there's an incentive for all of our team members to be able to be part of hitting those goals.
That was so good. And community is the other one again this month. That's kind of the last one. That's like, okay, we're right there. We're right there. We're pushing to Monday to get to that 160 number of total members. We're going to hit it.
Yes.
But definitely it's really exciting. And I think it brings a certain kind of like level of competitiveness. I know I'm competitive. We got some competitive people on our team. I know you are too, Nikki. It's like sometimes you need that number or that thing in front of you that you're pushing toward, right? So that it's not so nebulous, but you're like, oh, we got this. Let's go get this thing. But the other thing that you shared that I think is really important when considering doing OKRs, that seems like okay, yeah, I get that. But it truly is important. We've seen it with our team. You mentioned it, Nikki, and that is in our weekly team meeting that we have on Tuesdays. Sometimes it's an in-person virtual where we're doing it live together. Sometimes it's asynchronous. Go back and listen to the previous episode. You'll learn about that a little bit more. But we always have a section where we are updating on those 4 monthly sprinkles. We're keeping it in front. So even though, yes, we've got a Monday project management system that's got like a board that tracks those things for us, we're making sure each time 1 week on Tuesday when we pull up together as a team that we discuss those.
Yeah.
And that way there's an accountability piece, but it's also a help piece. It's an opportunity to ask for help and be like, hey, I'm stuck. I could really use help on moving this. I can see that this is going to be a bear. And that's something, I'm trying to do a better job of, is making sure ahead of time, like asking for help on certain things, so that it's not like a week or 2 later coming up against a deadline where it's like, okay, let's get all hands on deck. So it helps you be proactive when you're including it in your meeting structure. And sometimes it may be as simple as no updates this week. That's fine, on that particular one, but making sure that that's staying front and center in those meetings is really important each week.
So good. It makes me think about the statement, keep the main thing the main thing. However that applies in your life right now, we're talking about teams at work working together to achieve the priorities, right? But however that applies in life, I think it's so true. And then keeping the main thing with our sprint goals, right? Like less than 5, here's our focus. Every meeting we're talking about it. How do you regularly incorporate like top of mind awareness? Example on all of our meetings, whether it's our virtual all team meeting or our asynchronous meeting, we gave that as an example. We have a celebrations channel in our Slack. So whatever you use for your regular communication, do shouts out to people that are helping to progress that. Or when you check one off and it's the 14th of the month, like let's have a celebration and shout it out and have momentum around that, right? But keeping the main thing. I think when we don't have sprint goals, when we don't keep the main thing, what happens? We don't have focus. It's just people are working on all the things and they could be good things, but are they the priority things? You're not truly focused. I think you don't have that sense of progress like you do with sprint goals. It's like, man, it's fun to see the win and have the competition and all of that. And you don't have that motivation momentum when you don't have those condensed time periods where you're working on things like that. If it's like an all year long, we're working on this. Yeah, you've got some milestone celebration, but it really creates the energy towards that progress, I think. Team misalignment happens when we're all going in different directions versus everyone's rowing or flowing. I love the word flowing downstream because we're all working. We all have the same main things. And then we all know like our top 20% priorities in our role. That's another probably future topic we could talk about, Jason. And then I just think, the accountability is so strong because we have the goals with the condensed timeline and everybody's looking at it and working on it. Like the accountability is so strong and it's fun too. It's not like a stressful accountability. It's like we're going to figure this out together. We believe in each other. We're going to figure it out. So just wanted to mention like without sprint goals, what is life maybe like,
Yes. That's another key point, Nikki, that you brought up is, and I think it kind of ties into trust or psychological safety around this is, as a leader, you never want to use the OKRs as like the paddle in the principal's office. Like if we don't hit these or else kind of thing, like, no, it's a positive thing about these are the things that we need to do in order to advance the company, help everyone advance their income, achieve those dreams and things that they're wanting work to be able to do for them. And so that's just a good reminder that you shared there of if those things aren't hit necessarily, that you're not using it as like a punitive thing, but it is used as like a feed forward opportunity of like, okay, what did we learn from this? Why did we not hit this? Let's make sure we hit the next one on this. Okay. Yeah. And then also, keeping track of it weekly in those meetings gives that opportunity to be proactive to it instead of reactive. And so if you've built a culture, like we have a PeopleForward Network, we're very, happy that we have this culture with everyone on our team. I don't think anyone would say, you know what, I don't feel like I can ask for help because I'm worried that if I ask for help, that there'll be consequences. Be like, oh, you're not doing your job. That's not how we roll. People feel like they can be like, I need help on this. I know to hit this monthly sprint goal, I'm going to need some help. See our help channel on Slack. Folks are always willing to help, always asking for help. And so that's one thing I would share from a leadership perspective, leaders listening to this today is OKRs, the nuts and bolts of it. You get that. You're getting some of that from the show today of how we do that. But there's also a big culture component to this of how you use it, of making sure that your people have trust with one another and that they feel like they can speak up if they need support or help in moving some type of a major obstacle or something that they may be stuck on, if they're the ones that really own a particular goal. So that's just a key component to remember too, is yes, there's the black and white, the numbers and things like that. That stuff is important, but also make sure that you've got a culture where folks feel like they can ask for support and help if they need it. Because if they don't, then it's going to be really challenging to hit those and to pull on the collective synergy and talents of the team if someone feels like they can't speak up if they need support on hitting one of those goals.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, that sense of like, we're all in this together. This is a collective goal. We all win when we cross it off. And when we fail, we all fail together, right? And it's like a lot of times failing forward, which brings me back to the thought around the power of agility with monthly. You know, if you're on a all year long plan, right? Here's our annual plan. What happens many times is it takes so long to really figure out what you've learned because you're not being forced to condense the time to test ideas, learn. Like Jason, I don't even know if we realize how fast we learn on stuff because we're testing and then course correcting in real time because of the agileness of what comes with like monthly sprints, right? We know we want to get to this 160. We want to do it authentically. We want to, do it right. But we've tried probably 5 things that didn't work. And I don't even think, we're sharing, hey, this didn't work. Check. We're not doing that anymore. Right. But we're moving so fast because we're keeping the eye on the main goal that we test, try, learn, do something new, test, shift the verbiage, what's working. And I think we don't even realize the power of that agility that we're adopting because, of this monthly sprint cycle. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
I hadn't thought about that before, but you're 100% right. And that's why we got V8s on the team, right? That's the terminology we use a lot of times is so much of this now, all of us are in the space of adaptability. And that's what it's about, right? Unlearning things, relearning and testing and trying things. And I'm glad that we have a culture that embraces that.
Yeah.
And says, it's worse to just keep doing something because that's why we've always done it than to try something new. It failed. Hey, we just learned something new there.
Yeah.
But I think that's another piece of our culture that's been really critical for success. And it'll be even more important moving forward with just the pace of change that's coming to everyone is not being scared to fail, not being scared to speak up and ask for help of like, oh, if I admit that I'm struggling with this, that this is somehow going to be a demerit on my role or how I'm doing in my job. We don't have anybody that feels like that. And it's because we got each other's backs and we support each other.
Yeah.
And we help each other with those things. And we do, to your point, we learn really quickly on things, just thinking about it through the lens of community, how much we've learned even just this year after all of the planning and things we did last year and then launching it. And then as you're growing it, it's like, well, okay, we got to tweak this. This is how we're going to do this instead. And that's just all part of the process. And I think one of the things that I'm just speaking for myself that I've tried to do, and you put this in one of the community posts today, is sometimes instead of feeling like you always have to have a plan, sometimes you have to surrender a little bit and be like, let the thing do its thing. And you read it and you're like, all right, this is where it's swimming. Let's go this way. Why am I trying to go this way instead?
Yeah.
If this is the way the current's flowing, let's go with the current. And so I'm having a lot of Hakuna Matata, a lot of, that kind of stuff going on with the community of like, hey, it's great to have designs. It's great to have plans. Let's go have some. But being able to listen to your community and be able to make those adjustments and learn quickly and implement those quickly is so important.
Jason, it just made me think of a shared concept that I believe both of us, before sharing it with each other, we both uniquely love this concept that I believe we've talked about this. Share before you're ready. It was a Yoder, one of his core teachings in his book. I forget the book right now, but share before you're ready. And it makes me think about, as I'm thinking about our team and our culture and how we are in community, and all we've learned is it's okay to put it out there as a draft, like the day you thought of it. Like, I'm not really sure if this is, but here's the thing I'm not going to hold back on is overthinking it before I ask for the team to just give me some feedback or thoughts, or the community. And I think we're really good at that. And it's like part of how we're agile is there's so many things just in a month that don't work towards the goal. I don't think we realize all the things we're doing to be like this, like they can't stop the growth. I don't know if I have the logo in here, but the reason why they can't stop the growth arrow goes like this, that's one of the shows on our network, is because winning and success and growth is not a straight line. it goes like this because you're going to dip. It's like that, right? And I feel like that is what we're applying is like we keep our eye on the target, like with these core goals, and we month over month don't necessarily know what the next month is. We know what's going to guide it, which are the pillars, but we got to play it out. And we're a lot of times in draft mode and trying things. And I honestly think that's so unique about our team. I'm just celebrating that as I talk about it right now, because that's hard for a lot of people. Like, I got to think this through and run it through the, processor 15 times before I get out there. And it's like, what we're trying to say is let's get away from that so that we're really operating from this agile, throw it out there, try it, fail, because whatever it is you did to polish it up isn't going to probably be the way that works.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know? So
I want to share a story that ties into that. So last week I had the opportunity, because of us evaluating work-life integration at PeopleForward Network, I was able to go during the middle of the day for like 4 hours on my oldest son's field trip. And it was really cool. We went to this maker lab here in Indianapolis, and a kid showed up. There were 4 different stations, but the big project was they were entrepreneurs. So they had a business that they were spinning up. They had to have a business plan and everything. Well, today, what we were going to do in the lab, they had to use these little figurines, stick figure figurines, and use an app on their iPad that does stop motion commercials. So they had to make a commercial for their business. And what was really fascinating to me, Nikki, was watching the kids do that. There were some kids who naturally were just like, oh, this is good enough. The challenge was you've got to get 172 pictures done to have a 15-second commercial. So stop motion, the way it works, you set something up, then you got to go tinker it, move it a little bit. A lot of these kids were struggling to get 172 done in the 20 minutes that they had, right?
yeah.
And there were other kids that just naturally were like, you know what? I'm not worried about the detail. I'm going to move it a few times. I'm going to take 5 pictures in this stance. And so you can just tell, like, there's a natural tendency, even at that age with kids, where some are just like, you know what? I'll hop in, get sure before I'm going to ready. 172 is a goal. Cool. You know what? This may not be like the perfect commercial, but it's going to be a good enough commercial. I'm just going to get it done. And then there were others that would struggle that would have maybe 10 to 15 pictures because they were trying to get the little figurines perfect every time. And so I was trying to coach them through it. And there were just some really neat lessons in there to help me remember, that like when it comes to that spectrum of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, adapting to change and stuff like that, everyone can. But sometimes it does take a little bit more support to try and help with some of those things.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we have a culture that supports our team members on that. We have the opportunity that no one feels like they have to try and be something different in order to keep up. It's like, hey, culture of trust, ask for help if you need it. Share before you're ready. And for some folks, share before you're ready on our team might be, look a little bit more of like jumping off a 40-foot cliff.
Yeah.
For some of our team members, it might be just like taking a jump in the backyard kind of thing, right?
That's so true.
But at the end of the day, that's a leap for everyone on the team. But the job as a leader, I think, is to really understand where your people are kind of in those areas and figuring out how do we best support as a team to help everyone advance and move that needle. We know it's a part of our culture, and I'm really proud that we've set up some systems within our asynchronous meetings of setting up channels for support, of truly building a culture of trust where everyone feels like they can be open, honest, and ask for help on those things whenever keeping up with the pace or things like that may be a challenge. Last thing real quick to what you said, Nikki, and then I'll let you close it out. You mentioned agility several times. I will tell you, Nikki, that the more I hear guests on Working Forward, if you're an organization that's not in the process of adopting some kind of an agile mindset and how your team works, do it now. Start preparing for it, because I don't know how in the future. And when we're talking future of work, we're talking next 2 to 3 years. If you don't have pieces of an agile mindset that you're starting to work on, that you're bringing into your values, into your culture of how you work together as a team, start discovering and learning those pieces now, because that's how you move through transformations successfully. And instead of getting carried out to sea by the change, you're the one leading the charge, full steam ahead into it and saying, we got this. So if you haven't done stuff on learning about agile mindset and bringing agility into your culture, I would recommend leaders that you do that. Nikki, what are some of your closing thoughts today?
Well, that was a pretty darn good one, Jason. That was a mic drop wrap up. And I just want to reiterate that, with where we're at right now and how fast the world is moving, I feel like as I get older, every 5 years, I keep saying that. I'm like, okay, that's like old news. Yes, the world's moving, but it really is. It's like everything is just adopted so fast. And with AI, it's like we have to embrace change and fast. And that means you just go out and you just try it. And so I think that the word agile around why are we choosing to do like monthly focus? We know we have to be agile and things are constantly changing. So why plan it all out? Because it's all going to change anyway. So with that, we're so glad that you were able to join us today. And if you have topics that you want to hear about, Jason and I have been just looking at what are we doing that we're still trying to learn? What have we tried? We could share what we know so far. But if you have any topics that you'd like to hear about for Jason and I to break down what we've tried or what we're wanting to try, we'd love to hear your topics. And we'll see you next time on another live Working Forward in the PFN community.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Nikki. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being part of this special Working Forward conversation. Want to join us live next time? Head over to bit.ly/PFN community to join our PFN community and become part of the conversation that's driving what's next in work and leadership. See you there.